Ooh, and we are so back after a long ass break, boys. Sorry for the delay. I went on a little bit of a vacation, but I am here to bring you more coverage of the Grand Star Cup Week 4. It's heating up. Look forward to it. Let's go.
That is solid.
Wow, how about that? This could be huge. Oh my god, that's a huge play.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
And the pressure is on this week. We are passing the midway point. So our teams that are looking to secure that playoff spot don't have as much time as they did. SE, Heaven, IF, SL are all fighting. XI, 2S looking like they pretty much have it in the bags. And then KG and Daisy looking like they're out of it. And the first match we have up is SE versus Heaven. This would be a huge win for SE as they're 2-2. So they're on the tail end of our competing teams. Heaven 3-1. A loss here wouldn't mean the end of the world, but a win would still be huge. I did think earlier in the season that Heaven would be a little bit stronger and they would look a little bit more dominant. But as of right now, they are more tied up with the other teams and haven't pulled away like XI and 2S have. So this will be an interesting match. We start off on MC3 of all tracks because I think Types accidentally picked this or randomed it or something. We have the Azmac POV. He started in first, ran for a bit, but SE able to shroom up as it is MC3. They have the big shortcuts, and that fib somehow connects on Revise, even though it looks like it just drops on his head on Azmac's screen, and usually they'll just lag right through that. But Heaven manages to stay 2-3, and then Azmac hits another snipe, this time with a bomb onto Sean, but Revan just shrooms up. So Heaven stays only in 2-3. He drafts past his teammate. And a random green that Azmac had thrown earlier in the lap ends up hitting Sean and Jan. So Jan could have probably gotten second there. Maybe third. And then Types dodges up at the end. So maybe it could have been like a 2-3-4, 2-3-5 if that green didn't connect. BC is picked next from SE as they were starting in 1-4. And all of Heaven gets bumped out at the beginning. As you can see, they are all back here. And then there are no boxes for Azmac or Hadouke. So SE takes over a lot of the top spots very early. Azmac pulls a golden sometime lap 2 and just has to shroom up. How comes out, honestly have no idea whose that was because it doesn't look like it T-Pows anybody. Probably a Heaven POW and they just used it too early or something. Azmac gets screwed, he pulls a TC and he can't avoid the fib. He does manage to pass the TC off, but like I said, SE was just in the front the whole race and they end up getting top 3 and their BC we pick. Azmac pulls a star, Sean gets TC'd, and I think Hadouke is the one that makes glitch, so he does get into first. No, it's Jan. But either way, Jan gets into first. Heaven is able to at least secure one of those top spots up there, and they keep it until a target POW, lap 3. Jan is forced out of first, but they have the shock. So Azmac, who was holding a star the whole race, dodges while Edison gets TS'd, and it's 1-4-5-8 for Heaven. Koopa Cave is picked next. Azmac pulls the green shell so he can take Shroomba just to stay in first, and he does stay in first until he hits the zapper. Revise gets into first afterward. Very big misplay, to be honest. They would have just been 1-3. Now they are only 2-3, and Revise is running it up. And a target POW comes out onto, looks like Heaven. Azmac forced to take a weird line from the ground green shell. Revan is able to golden up at the shortcuts. So SE is looking like they're taking over this match as Heaven is bottom 2. And there are a lot of the bottom spots now. Jan is really the only one up there for them. Azmac pulls shrooms so he can maybe catch up a little bit. Has 2 shrooms and 5. He just burns them, trying to avoid Sean's bomb, and SE's pretty gone in top 2. They're going to need a blue shell or something, but Heaven doesn't get it, and SE ends that race top 2 for 7. So they're able to win the GP by about 40 points. GP2 starts out with DDR, and Azmac just ends up running it uninterrupted the entire time. Heaven ends up 1-4-5-7. Literally nothing happened that race from our POV. Sherbet is picked next from SE. Azmac pulls a fib, just immediately backs it, hits somebody. Edison pulls shrooms, he's shrooming up. Jan pulls shrooms, he's shrooming up. And Jan ended up chaining triple shrooms into triple red, so he's able to red Edison, and then someone on SC hits the Penguin. So Heaven takes over in top 3 very early on. A pretty disgusting target pile comes out, though. It hits both Hadouke and Azmac into the drop greens. And then they get past a TC, and there's a blue shell that comes out. So all of a sudden, SE is able to mitigate the damage quite well on lap 2. Azmac drops down to 8th. And he was never really able to catch back up as he gets 8th, and SE ends up getting top 2, 4, 6. Don't really know what they did, but they were able to get a really good race out of that. And they get their Totes Factory picked. Azmac pulls the 9th place Bill lap 1. He holds it up until he's forced to use it lap 2. Types was forced into a Mega. And he's able to bill all the way up to 1st. So it's actually pretty good spots for Heaven, and they do keep top 2. They get bottom 2 as well, but not bad considering the other team starts in top 2, 4 on TF to get a winning race there. GC3 is picked next, and Edison looks like he drafts up and is able to force out Azmac, but the red shell hits the ramp and is able to still hit Edison even though it had to jump over it. Azmac goes for Ultra and he fails it, very uncharacteristically failing Ultra. However, he pulls Bill in 8th and Heaven use a very early shock. So Azmac's able to get right back up there, but they are bottom 3. Types is in 2nd. Looks like he's going for the unblocked. Azmac's going for the Ultra, and this time he does make it. So he's able to get back into 1st, keeps 1st going into lap 3, but SE's all behind him, and they throw a blue shell. He tries to back up to hit Sean into it, but it's no luck, and then Revise or Revan, whoever that was, had a bomb, so he's able to bomb the guy right behind him. And now SE is breaking away in top 2. They take Cut and they take Ultra. Blue shell comes out. Types bumps off his own teammate on the Shrimless Cut. Types is able to get 3rd, but it's top 2, 4, 5 for SE, so very good race for them. And they win that GP by another 30, so they're up like 70 points going into GP3. And I hate to do it, but I mean, I'm just going to call it, because Heaven's not going to be able to come back from a 70-point deficit in 4 races. They end up making it a little bit closer, but they also end up picking up a troll penalty on Wario's Gold Mine. So they win the final GP, but it's a 10-2 victory for SE. They take it pretty convincingly. They had the lead the entire time. Really hard to say what Heaven could have done differently, because they got beat down pretty badly. I mean, minus 70 after 2 GPs. Just from our Azmac POV, it seemed like he was playing pretty well. He was making some good plays. Koopa Cape, though, misplayed, hit the zapper, and then they ended up getting a really good race off of it. BC3 gets into 1st, but they just throw a blue shell at him, and then it's a top 2, 4, 5. So, and then like DDR, he just runs it completely fine, but then RSL, he gets into 8th and then stays in 8th the whole time. So it's kind of hard to say. We didn't really have a good view of the mid-pack for those races. But it seemed like Azmac was playing decently, just had that big mistake on KC. So it must have been somewhere else where things were going wrong, where they were getting beat down so badly. I mean, they were getting 1st place a lot, but they would only get like 1, 4, 5 or top 2, bottom 2 or something like that. Meanwhile, SE was getting top 2 4s and top 2 4 6 and some races like those, huge races where they were able to just break away and get that lead. But regardless, this is a huge win for SE. Like I was saying earlier, this really brings them back into the mix of things, and it puts Heaven down into the mix of things, I guess. This really makes everything super even now, because all the teams that are competing are 3-1, and then Heaven's 3-2. So it really evens things out. Huge win for SE, like I said, but both these teams definitely still have a chance to make or not make it. The next match we have is a lot less impactful. XI versus 2S, both of our front runners. The only thing that could really happen here is 2S making a cool upset, but that doesn't happen. XI just takes it pretty convincingly. Now, like I said, this doesn't really have much of an effect at the playoff standings, unless 2S literally loses like all their next matches with 0 GSC points. I guess that could be a possibility, but yeah, nothing really too exciting here. This match doesn't matter that much. And the next match probably won't matter too much either. IF versus Daisy. I'm assuming IF is just going to snack wrap this up, but a loss would be very bad for IF. Daisy would get their first win. Wouldn't mean too much other than the fact that they are not going completely winless, but a loss here for IF would set them back a little bit. Wouldn't be the end of the world, but it definitely would set them back. And we start out with the Snow POV once again on RBC. Gets the draft up, gets a box in third, so they're top 2 IF. And as long as they can hold on to this, RBC is also obviously great for back spamming, so they can double back on corners and whatnot. And it doesn't look like any of Daisy are able to shroom up immediately, so they do keep top 2 for an entire lap. As you can see, it's lap 2 now, but Snow does get greened out, and then it's back bombed, so what could have been a pretty free top 2 run gets interrupted by that green. But he gets a golden in 5th, so he's able to get back up there quite easily. He gets into 3rd until the side red comes out, and he can't get his green shell out quite in time. He gets red into 4th, then clips the grass. He's now all the way in the back. Barry is also back here with him. Last second blue shell comes out. Looks like that's an IF shock into set, and then 2 people spam megas right afterwards. So in the end, Shadow does hold on to 1st, but Daisy gets 2, 3, 4 out of it. Uba Cape is the track picked for the 2nd race. Snow pulls a mushroom in a mid spot, holds it till the ramp cut, so he's able to get the box out of cut, but Daisy immediately has triple reds, so he hits him out to 6th. Then at first set, lap 2, pulls a TC, so unless Snow can pass this off, it's going to be a GG for this race for him, and it doesn't look like he'll be able to pass it. But he gets Bill in 8th going into lap 3, so if IF does have shock, and they do, he's able to dodge, and honestly the pack is pretty close, all things considered. So he's able to Bill up into 3rd. Now IF is 2-3 behind Luke. Dropstar comes down, looks like Shadow misses it, and then Snow does pick it up. Could be dangerous here if Snow accidentally stars his teammate. He doesn't, but Shadow does get taken out anyway, and IF ends up getting bottom 3. If they were able to split that star, that definitely would have been an easy 2-3 for them. It's unfortunate that he missed it. Next race, MH comes out for Daisy. Snow pulls honestly the perfect item in 2nd, which is triple greens, but he gets backfibbed and misses the snipe. I guess a mushroom probably would have been better. He's able to trim in front of him. Either way, he gets taken out, and Daisy controls a lot of the top spots, but Shadow did shroom up into 1st. Snow pulls another TC, so he gets TC'd into the back, and honestly stays in the back all the way going into lap 3 till he pulls a golden, is able to golden up. Barry also made his way up there, so IF is 1-3-5, rounding the final turns of this race. And Luke, who was in 4th, ended up pulling a TC himself, so IF ends up finishing 1-3-4. It's a pretty decent race considering that Daisy was starting in all the top spots there. DK Summit comes out next. Snow chains his mega at first set. Looks like Luke shroomed up. Cormac also shroomed up. Luke's in 1st, but all of IF behind him as we approach double on lap 1. Everyone's going for double. Whoever survives this is going to be in control. And Luke does survive in 1st. Emil also makes the double. So Daisy gets into top 3 going into lap 3 there, controlling the majority of the top spots. But Luke slows down because Daisy does have shock. So they shock top 2 out. Snow unfortunately pulls a very terrible chain in the blooper. Even a red shell there would have been nice to just red one of the top 2 because they have no items. Luckily he doesn't get redded himself, but he does land on just some random Nana on the moguls as he was looking backwards. And then he's pressured on the double by James, and luckily avoids the TC. But yeah, it's only Barry up there, except for the fact that Barry failed double in 1st, and there's a blue going for Daisy now, so it's going to be a very hectic finish. The guy in 1st is spinning on the line, but he did end up crossing, and after all of that, even though IF did get shocked, they only finished in 3rd. Daisy gets top 2-4 out of it because Snow got taken out and then Barry failed double. So Daisy ends up winning the first GP by about 30 points. GP2 starts out with Maple Treeway. Snow gets a pretty good jack, and he has triple red, so he's able to red out a lot of Daisy members. IF wants to keep this top 2, but Sammy shrooms up. The green snipe comes out, but it does not connect. He is too far away. So they stay 1-3 going into the last set here, but Sammy just throws a red up, or he hits a snipe or something, but he takes out Shadow. So he takes over 1st, and Snow stays in about 2nd or 3rd the whole race. Barry shroomed up, but Sammy stayed in 1st going into lap 3. And a Daisy shot comes out at the first set out of cannon. Looks like Emil dodges. Snow pulls a red, which is honestly pretty good. It can sometimes catch the Dodgers off guard. But Luke chains a star, so he's gonna able to pass Snow pretty easily. He throws the red up, but it hits a different Daisy member. It looks like it just hits James in a laggy interaction. Snow goes up for a box, but then Shadow had triple reds out. It looks like he just went for the fast path and ends up hitting Snow on accident. But Barry managed to sneak his way up into first, so Daisy ends up finishing 2-3, 4-5 after that shock. Next race is Sherbet. Snow gets a single red in fourth at first set. You really just want shrooms in fourth, triple shrooms or a mega, but Emil is the only one that pulls the mega. Cormac pulled a TC, and honestly, Snow from our POV just stays in some of the bottom spots pretty much the whole race until he shrooms up at the end, but even then he just gets slagged on the line and then redded, so we don't really get to see what happened in the front, but Barry and Shadow did manage to finish in top 2, so it's top 2, bottom 2 for IF, and they get their gold mine track pick, which is very good for the sandwich spots. You can hopefully run in top 2. Then 8th place gets the zipper box, but Snow is bumped off immediately, and honestly, we don't get another good view of what happens in the front. It's pretty much just 8th all the way up to 6th going into lap 3, but Shadow ends up running it pretty well, and Cormac also got up there. But the next track is Coconut Mall, and IF uses an early shock to dodge Barry. As you can see, the Daisy is in first, which has to be Emil, so it seems like Daisy was breaking away in a lot of the top spots. Snow and Cormac were also back there. Now Daisy is more of the mid-pack spots. Snow's in 8th, he's just chanting stars. Sammy also uses a star in the cut, and Emil is still in first after that, though, as you can see on the mini-map. Keeps first, Snow gets up into 5th, and he keeps 5th, and Daisy ends up getting bottom 3 that race. Emil was able to hold it down in first, but IF wins that GP by about 10 points, so now they're only down around 20 going into the last GP, which is very manageable. EPR is first pick for GP3. It's Snow chains his shrooms for triple shrooms, which honestly would have been pretty good pull if he was able to take triple shrooms ultra, but he clips the sand and just loses way too much time for it to be that useful anymore. But he's still going to attempt it. It looks like Shadow did manage to keep first as the host. Cormac also an ultra with a star, and Cormac obviously makes it. Snow ends up falling off, but Luke ended up getting in front of Shadow by the end of the lap there. So Luke is now the person in first, and he has a bit of a break. Snow going for ultra again, this time with the star, lap 2, and it's an IF shock, so he's able to dodge very cleanly in the ultra. Daisy's 1-3. Snow opts to skip the box, which could be good, but if he pulled a red, he might have been able to red Luke here, but he also risked pulling a TC or getting hit by Emil. Either way, Luke holds down first, but IF gets 2, 3, 4 out of it. So now things are very even. That was a +7 race. Bowser's Castle 3 is picked next. Snow starts a little bit ahead of Luke, but he just lags back up, so he gets wheelie bumped out. And Snow unfortunately pulls a blooper, which is terrible. Cormac looks like he failed Ultra or something. And Snow also fails Ultra, but at least they were able to kind of block other people from taking it. And all of Daisy is back here. James is in 5th, and Samit and Emil are in bottom 2. So even though Snow failed, it's not the worst, because now he has triple reds, and he has all of Daisy around him to hopefully hit out. And honestly, he just kind of stays in those bottom spots again for the majority of the race. IF was pretty much holding down a lot of the top spots the whole time. Barry goes for ultra there, unfortunately fails it. Snow fails a pretty simple golden star cut there. He definitely should have made that. And Daisy somehow ended up getting top 2 out of it. Like I said, couldn't really see what was happening in the front. But Daisy also gets their DK Mountain track pick, so they have the chance to run away with it going into the final race. And Luke does hold down the fort in first. James also makes his way up there. So Daisy is going to be in control a lot of the top spots for this race. Barry's really the only person close enough to make some type of play. Emil also shrooms up. But going into lap 3, the spots are the same in top 2, and IF is all behind him. Someone in 8th, I think it's Sammy, is gone in 8th. IF ends up using shock to shock the top 2 out. So if they can make some type of play on Luke, who is the only one who's really broken away now, they will be able to get a huge race, but a backfib hits Barry. So Luke is able to hold first going down the mountain here. James is still going to be in the pack as well, but it's going to be very tight going into the cut section. Doesn't backspam on the cut, but a target pal gets Snow off. I'm assuming it also affected Shadow, who's right behind him. And on the minimap, you might be able to see Emil made his way into second after that target pal came out. So a huge T-pal and a very good call. It was perfectly timed by Luke if he called it. But they only get top 2, bottom 2 out of it. They're still up 15 going into the last race, which is a sizable lead, but it isn't so unsurmountable. It's not like you need a top 4. Like, they just needed to get a good race here, and IF can easily win it. Now, Snow pulls trip reds at first set, which isn't the best, but he does get some of the reds to connect. IF takes over into top 2. Snow has shrooms in 4th. Cormac takes cut. Luke takes cut. Snow takes cut. Everybody's taking cut and manages to hop dodge, keep his shroom. Cormac gets taken out. Looks like Luke made some type of play, but then Luke gets immediately redded. So IF is top 2 going into the cut section of lap 3. However, a daisy shot comes out and it prevents Barry from taking cut. Shadow is also after boxes, so they get their top 3 after boxes. It looks like Barry was able to pick up his own ground shroom and just continue to take the cut. James dodged, Salmon dodged, so they really need to take out both Salmon and James in 2-3 here in order to have a chance at winning, because they're probably going to need some type of top 3 or top 2, 4, 5. Now, I don't see what happens, but whoever is on the right here does get hit. I think it's James. He either gets blued or redded or something. And then immediately after that, Sammy just gets mega'd. So IF is top 4, rounding out the last turn. And the bill comes up to pass Snow, but they get top 3-5, which is more than enough to take home the win. So they barely hold on and come back. Actually, that was a comeback. It wasn't a hold on. That was a comeback. And I do not know what happened to James to get hit there. I'm assuming he got redded because I feel like I would have seen the blue explosion. But either way, the items that they ended up getting in the chain shop section must have not been enough for them. And then Sammy just got mega'd. They really only need to keep like second or third there in order to prevent them from having a super huge race. But yeah, IF barely gets the dub out, which is huge for them. A loss to Daisy would have been quite painful. Wouldn't have meant like their season was over. They honestly still would have been in a decent enough seat. Definitely wouldn't have ruined everything. But Daisy, as we've been saying, looks like to be the weakest team, so losing to them would have hurt a lot, just knowing that you probably left some points on the table. IF, just from the Snow POV, there were a lot of mistakes and just a lot of spending time in 8th, but especially that GP2. But they were able to still front run a lot of the races and make good use of their shocks to squeak out the victory. So even though they were playing probably a little bit worse than normal, they were still able to win. And Daisy, unfortunately, unable to get their first win of the season. And with that, we move on to another IF match, this time versus XI. Again, kind of like the 2S match, this is just expecting XI to win, but it would be a nice upset if IF was able to beat them. We start off on BC3 out of all tracks, not the most commonly picked first track. Usually it comes from the evens though, which would be XI. Shadow bags his Nana, hits somebody, but he gets redded immediately. Fox bags his Nana. You would expect Fox to just go for Ultra in this situation in first, but he hits the wall, takes the turn badly. So Snow gets able to get to the cut before him. However, he gets a bad laggy interaction and he gets bumped around and hit on the cut. But he is able to at least bump Fox's alignment out. It looks like Cormac failed as well. Snow barely fails it. Faisal went around, Shadow went around as well. XI was in control of top 2. Majority of the race, IF in 3, 4, 5 right now. As you can see on the minimap, Barney and Faisal just went around cut. Cormac unblocks with a Mega. Snow is able to take cut. Shadow made Ultra, however, they are not really close enough to try to put in any type of work on Faisal unless they get some type of target power or a bomb snipe. Blue Shell does come out though, however, Barney is already waiting on the line. Shot comes late, but it is a top 2, 5, 8 for XI. So they go ahead and pick Wario's Gold Mine again, not a very commonly picked track in the first couple races.
But it is good because they have the 8th placer, and it looks like the guy in 8th pulled a star and just chained it there. Snow pulls a shroom, spams it up to get into the top spots, but Barney ended up pulling a 2nd place box, even though he's in 1st. Pulls out triple greens and can easily hit him. Snow pulls blue shell lap 2 to get XI out of 1st. Shadow's going to take over. Fox got TC'd, and Faisal's in 2nd. Snow with the POW is going to try to target POW. Faisal to actually bury in 1st. Niche red doesn't connect. And something kind of funny happens here. I don't know if Barry failed the POW dodge or if he got like sniped on the head as it happened. But he loses a little bit of time, and so does Faisal. So Snow is able to get up into 2nd. However, blue shell comes very quickly. So Snow is just going to try to run it up in 1st for the rest of the race. However, lap 3 comes and there is a blue shell thrown. And Barney's going to take over in 1st. Barry's 2nd. And then Xander is 3rd. And yeah, Shadow's 4th. The reason I was going through all those numbers is because a shock is used there and it TS's Barney and Barry. And then Shadow ended up dodging in a Bill, and it was an XI shock because Faisal dodges there and Fox is also coming up. Shadow had just predicted the shock with that Bill and ended up getting 1st off of it. As you can see, XI still got 2, 3, 4, 5. But it was a very ambitious shock. Shadow made a good call to just Bill there. I mean, he had Bill in like 4th, so it was taking him up to 1st anyway. But yeah, kind of a strange interaction there. And XI gets their Waluigi Stadium pick for 2, 3, 4, looking to take all those boxes. And it appears that they do. Barney sits for the Aether. Snow pulls triple shrooms, which is an okay pull. Usually you'd want a golden if you are waiting around like that. And he does eventually pull a golden, but he only gets up into 5th place. And Barry's next to him, but XI is top 3. It looks like Barney failed a little bit with those nanas. They throw a blue shell. It's going to hopefully connect onto Fox, but it looks like on the minimap he dodges it with a shroom. He must have pulled triple shrooms at one of the earlier sets. Luckily for IF, Barney has a TC and he's unable to pass it. And Fox and Faisal are running up in top 2. Barry just burns his mega to take cut, try to contest them. And IF uses an early shock because they know they need to break up those top spots. Cormac also dodges in a star. And that should also mean that Dermo is 10th, but it is very close at the backing battle, actually, if you're paying attention. Snow chains a star here at the fire ring set. I like chaining there too, because you can take a cut while getting an item. You only lose a little bit of time from getting a bunch of air. When he pulls blue shell, he's just kind of forced to hold on to it for the remainder of the race. Luckily, he doesn't get redded, and it should be Shadow, Barry, and Cormac in the majority of the top spots, as Xander, Fox, and Barney are all back here. It is an XI shock. Faisal dodges from 8th, and they do get a target shock off. However, it's not really going to do that much damage. IF still gets a very good race here as they get top 2, 4, 7. Faisal is able to beat Cormac off the TS. And IF goes ahead and picks DK Mountain. Now, you might have been able to see in the bottom left corner, but Barry actually burnt out in 1st. So Shadow's in 1st, Faisal 2nd. And Shadow gets redded at the item set, so it's actually XI who gets into top 3 by the time they hit the 2nd item set down the mountain. So Snow just burns his mega. He unfortunately misses the chain, but he knows he has to do something to break up top spots with Barney. Has triple reds out, and he's just going to be able to slag everybody with them. And XI just kind of runs away with it in top 2 for all of lap 2. Fox backs a red wide, avoids it, and they keep their top 2 positions. Like I said, Barry is able to shroom up. However, the same exact red shell spot, Snow gets hit by it. And XI, typical mountain race, they just run away with it. They get top 2, 4, 5 by the end. And it's a plus about 20, 25 point GP for XI. Going into the 2nd GP, DDR is picked. Once again, IF is the host, so Shadow's going to be looking to just run this up from 1st. And Snow and Barry get TC and Mushroom in 4 or 5 boxes at the beginning, which is kind of bad. I mean, a mushroom isn't terrible. It gets you a little bit closer to everyone else. But Shadow gets taken out pretty quickly. Snow throws the bomb up before TC connects, and he actually does get Xander with it, which is pretty nice, or else they would have just been running it up in top 2. And our POV is pretty much stuck in the back for a majority of this race. Finally pulls a golden to catch back up to the pack, but Shadow is also very far behind, so it's Cormac in 4th, Barry in 3rd. It means XI is still top 2 after the whole race. Fox is looking to make his way up into the mix of things, but Snow does have triple reds out. They really need a blue shell or shock in this position in order to make any type of dent in that top 2. But if you look at the mini-map, the baggers are hitting each other at the first set. So nobody has it. Barry does something to Xander here. I don't know if you redded him or sniped him, but if you look at the left, he did get hit on the last turn, which means somehow IF does get 2, 3, 5 out of that when it looked like it should have been a clear top 2. I don't know really what happened, but assuming Barry made a play, that definitely saved the race. And XI goes ahead and picks RBC for their 1-4 draft spots. However, it doesn't look like Fox actually gets the draft. Barry gets bumped out, Fox burns a shroom, Snow burns a shroom, and Faisal backs a fib. So everyone is itemless in this top 4, it looks like. Cormac's able to draft and bump Faisal, which is very nice, because being behind top 2 on RBC is super dangerous with the double back spams they can do. 2-3 is a much more manageable position. Target POW comes out. It's really hard to say whose POW that was, because everyone was getting to the turn at the same time and POW reds were getting thrown out. But Snow is pretty much forced into the back again. We don't get to see much happen in this race in the front. But XI is controlling a lot of the top spots, and they do get shock, so they dodge Faisal and Barney very easily into the moving item sets. Fox gets starred, however, XI is top 3 right now. Barry and Snow are the closest people to them. They're really going to need either POW or Blue Shell in order to do anything, but 5th place box is a blooper when that could have been a race-saving item, and XI is able to run away with it in top 3 very easily with that shock dodge. And luckily for IF, they get their Peach Gardens pick, so they can avoid the steamroll of a PCW track pick in top 3 for XI. Snow does get a lagged box in 5th there, but it's only a red show, and it could have been a nice, juicy triple shrooms pull. Him and Cormac again are in the back for majority of the beginning of this race. Pulls triple shrooms, chains it, bam, gets the star in 7th. It's a huge pull. Faisal, however, does pass him at TC, and then it just kind of randomly passes back to, looks like, Cormac, who's forced to burn his mega. Snow barely avoids an off-the-wall green, and then Barney just gets random greened. This draft comes out, and then he hits the ground shell, another bat green. There's a craziness happening here, but Snow somehow survives with his ground star, or excuse me, with his star. Dermo on our screen fell off, so IF does not have shock yet. It looks like Snow uses his star here to predict the XI shock because Faisal used his star, and then IF ends up pulling shock at that set as Snow is using his star, so he barely gets the last frame dodge off. IF is top 2. Snow has a bomb, but it doesn't connect because he's on the left, and then Fox went right side. Shadow looks like he hit something or hit the mole trail, and then Fox shrooms up, and he pulled triple shrooms in 4th, so he wins that race off of that. And IF ends up still getting 2, 3, 4, 6 off of that, but if that bomb connected, man, that would have been an easy top 3. I mean, if Fox got a worse item, it probably still could have been like top 2, 4 or something, but triple shrooms in 4th was just an insane pull for him to get there to shroom barely into 1st. Grumble Volcanoes picks next. Snow does pull a shroom, so he's hoping to survive to the shortcut. Maybe snipe Xander on rock here. Doesn't snipe Xander, and he does make the rock, but Xander messes him up, so I think that banana actually might have scared him off the rock, which is huge, as Snow does run it up in 1st for a lot of this race. Forced to go wide from the POW. Jumps down trying to surprise Faisal, but unfortunately he gets hit out himself. If he was a little bit faster and further ahead, those Trail Nanas probably would have connected, which would have been good. But a blue shell just comes out on the Faisal anyway. It looks like it lags and hits Shadow as well, and Shadow loses mushrooms right before cut. And it's Fox, Barney, and Barry who make rock, and someone else, probably either Cormac or Faisal. Kind of hard to tell, but that is the person in 1st. Snow does pull shrooms in 5th, which is an amazing item. He's going to be able to take cut here, and Barry also takes cut. Shadow is in a mega behind them, and yep, there it is. Very easy IF shock dodging 3 of them in cut. Shadow was in a mega, so he didn't get TS'd, and they're able to comfortably just cruise over the line into top 3. And Cormac gets 7th. Like I said, I don't know if it was Cormac or Faisal in 1st, but they got bottom 2, so it's really hard to tell who that was. Either way, it is about a plus 10 GP win for IF off of that top 3. So huge on them. They're able to bring it into very comfortable range going into the last GP, and they already have 2 GSC points on the board. Hoop Cape is picked first race of GP3. Snow pulls a green shell, which is kind of for 4th place box. Barry goes for the Shroomba, and it looks like he kind of misses it or something, because he goes from what should have been first to not even on our screen. Xander is able to take cut, pull a Nana out right in front of Snow. Shadow ended up being the first person out of Golden Ultra, or Golden Cut. So he's in first, but XI is 2, 3, 4, all behind him, looking to pick up some ground stars as Faisal gets one on the left. And Snow kind of fails a little bit, so he's forced to just drop to get a box. Gets a 7th place box. It's a POW, which isn't terrible considering they are bottom 3, so he can just POW them into set here or in the air and hopefully get Shrooms out of XI in their middle spots. Cormac chains a star. Snow pulls a golden, so he's going to be able to catch up decently enough, but they still do have a little bit of a break in the bottom spots coming out of the shortcuts here. Going into lap 3, Snow chains Shroom at the set, gets triple Shrooms. Very nice in 6th. They are gaining a little bit on XI, but at this point XI is top 4. Shadow, who was the only top spot, is now in the middle, and Snow's going to be able to infiltrate a little bit with these Shrooms, get into at least 2nd place here. Hopefully pull some protection just in case they get reds behind him. Narrowly avoids the back green, and he does finish in 2nd, but it is XI all around him in 1, 3, 4, 5. So great race on XI starting out the GP. So now they're going to be up a little bit more than about 20, 25 points. So it's going to be quite the comeback to make in 3 races. Pulls a Shroom at his first set, so he's going to be able to Shroom into first. If no one else pulls Goldens behind him, he'll probably be able to keep first here. Backs 2 Nanas, not the best spot. He doesn't connect on Faisal, but he is able to stay in first. Shadow Shrooms up behind him, but it looks like a miscommunication or just a hesitation on Shadow's part to pass causes Snow's back Nana to just hit him instead. Xander and Fox both Shroom up into top 2 going into lap 2, and Fox's back green does connect even though there was no box there. Just made a YouTube short about that exact spot, funnily enough. Snow has a red, pretty bad item. Barney hits a penguin, and Fox fails, either gets sniped or hits the penguin himself, so he's getting comboed to shit, and IF is 2, 3, 4. However, an XI shock comes out. Cormac predicts it though. That was an XI shock. Cormac predicts, so he's able to dodge. Fox also was able to just spam a star in the back. So IF is bottom 3, and they really don't catch up too much. XI gets a top 2 out of it, so it's looking very dire going into the last couple races here. And IF gets their Mushroom Gorge track pick. Shadow makes gap, Fox makes gap. Snow has Shrooms in 3rd, so he's looking to hold these till gap next lap, but he gets redded and is forced to burn both of his Shrooms, so now he needs to get left path, hopefully pull a Shroom in 3rd on the left item boxes, but he pulls a TC, gets a box in 4th, does pull the Shroom. Fox still has a Mushroom in 2nd, so he's able to take gap and overtake Shadow, get into 1st. Snow does make it, but of course he gets TC'd, so he's going to be sent to the back. Faisal is pretty broken away in 8th, looks like he got hit off on the Mushroom sections. And Snow pulls a star in 7th, so this could be decent if IF pulls shock. They managed to get into 2, 3, 4. Looked like Barney pulled a TC at that first set as well. And Cormac falls off at the Mushroom section, it looks like. They do dodge both Barry and Snow in Mega and Star, so they get 1, 3, 4, 7 off of it. So that means they're down around 20 points, probably a little bit more going into the final race. They're going to need top 3, top 2, 4, 5 type of race here. And it is DK Summit. Snow throws a red up, and it looks like it does connect on Xander, who was trailing the fib. He throws another red up at Fox, who's trailing a green shell. Shadow is able to pass him at the shortcut. Everybody's taking a nice clean double, and everybody makes it. Ari is chaining a mega here on the left, trying to just infiltrate those top spots. They need to get, like I say, a huge race, but Snow unfortunately pulls a TC, and he is unable to pass it to Faisal. He does manage to pass it to Barney there in the back, so it's going to take out at least one of XI's members, and he does make double afterwards. But Barry, who was trying to get his way up there, ended up failing double, so they're going to need shock, but they don't get it at the cannon. So now they need to make some type of huge play in the front here in order to do anything. Fox is respawning, but yeah, Faisal and Xander are just comfortably in 2-3. So it's going to be GG's to IF. XI takes home another dub, still undefeated and it's a 10-2 victory for XI. Now, this was a very close match. XI was in control the whole time. They always held their lead, but it never got too out of hand. IF was always right there, one race away, from making it a close match. And they did end up winning 1 GP. There were some pens that I didn't talk about that were thrown in there, but either way, it was still pretty close. I didn't see as many errors from Snow's POV specifically, but there was definitely some big moments of misplay as far as his teammates, like on Mountain specifically. I can think of very burned out, and then Shadow lost first like immediately. I think Shadow also lost first very quickly on DDR, so they were getting outran at the very beginning, and maybe if they were able to hold on to those top spots on a couple of those tracks, they would have been able to be more in control of those races. The only thing from our POV that I really felt could have been a big game changer was that bomb on RPG. If he was able to connect with that, that would have been a huge point swing for them, getting top 3 instead of 2, 3, 4. But this isn't a huge loss for IF. I mean, everybody's lost to XI so far, and they only have to play them once. So not that big of a deal. They were able to get a couple points out of it, and it's not going to hurt them too badly. Our next match is going to be SL versus KG. I'm back on POV, back in the driver's seat. And going into this match, even though we won last time, it was kind of a cheese to win. So I do still think KG is a threat, even though their record doesn't show it, just on paper, of course. They look like a really good team. And on our side, we are not using Burke as our main bagger. We're subbing in Will because Burke's Wii was broken or something. I don't actually remember, but we just wanted to schedule it and Will was available, so we decided whatever, let's just run it. The thing about this war, even though if we win, it'd be good, we get points, but if we lose, it's not the end of the world because KG isn't our direct competition. It'd be a lot worse if it was SC or IF or Heaven or one of those teams. And race when we start off on DDR, KG is hosting. I don't get a box in 4th. Probably should have went around to try to get one, but I do get a draft, and Brody passes Jacob on Sandtop. He must have failed somehow. Looks like Thunder shrooms up with triple shrooms and bumps him. And I pull a Mega, I see 2 of them in front of me and us in top 2, so I think I just got a schlag here, try to hit them and help us break away, but they also spam a Mega in order to avoid that. We're still pretty much all the top spots, so I'm just back spamming. I don't actually hit anybody. Maybe should have stopped right here with the triple greens instead of backing them, but I do just drop to 8th, and I missed the item box, which is kind of whatever. I was probably just going to stay in the back anyway, unless I pulled a golden there. But I'm pretty much in the back the entire race. We are controlling a lot of the top spots, and I'm just holding a star here in case we pull shock or if they use it. But I think we call shock here, and we end up getting 2, 3, 4, and 6th. So it is a winning race. I think we barely fumbled first at the end there, but still a good race. And GV is picked next. I think it was their pick. I've seen it a lot when you get first and bottom spots. I don't know, it's pretty neutral even if you do start in first. I pull a shroom, which is good, but I get past this TC, so I'm just going to try to burn my shroom to pass it to Casper. And we have a really dogshit TC battle, but I do end up passing it off. However, both of us are pretty dead in the back. End up staying in the back once again, and I get Pow. We call it Pow there to try to mess them up on Rock, and one of us keeps a shroom, I think, in their top spots. It does mess them up decently, and I pull shrooms, so we're in decent spots. Sam is broken away in first, but Thunder and Brody and I are all back here, so we really just need to pull shrooms at the end in order to do any type of damage. We pretty much have first in the bag unless they get blue shells or something, but we don't pull. They don't pull the blue. I pull a blue, and at that point it's already too late. We're gonna cross, but it looks like Brody failed cut. And Thunder somehow was able to shroom up at the end, even though he was behind me. And my blooper did nothing, so we got 1-4 bottom 2 off of it. And we pick RBC for the 1-4 spots. Pretty good if we can get the draft off, but it doesn't look like we're able to. I get a draft myself, 5th place box. It's a bomb. Almost get the draft up on Casper. His green disappears. Brody tells me to back the bomb here, and I do end up getting at least one of them. Looks like 2 of them, actually. Now we're in a 2v1, but Ornan shrooms up. I pull TC, can't really do anything with it. However, I pass it to Ornan, and I'm able to avoid him. He gets redded. Sam calls back green on the left, so I take a line down the middle. And at this point, I'm just trying to avoid Casper's greens, even though I am just driving in the tight line. And I wait to throw my green up, and I do end up sniping him. So that snipe is pretty clean. We're top 3 now. End up keeping at least top 2. Sam gets blued. I get a shroom in first, and now we're still top 2. Brody was still up there. And then I get blued here. Just stay on the left. I think Brody drafts me right there, and they are getting TC'd. So I'm going to be able to make my way back up if I can pull a decent item. That's our shock. I called it to TS one of their people, and it looks like 3-4. I end up TSing one of them. I figured, even though Casper got into set, I figured it was better to try and TS the people who were close together. That way I can actually, get that guy and TS him to guarantee me passing someone, as opposed to getting shocked into set, pulling like a useless item, and then not being able to pass any of them. Because even though Casper was shocked into set in front of me, I ended up pulling a golden and TSing one of them. If I didn't pull a golden, I still would have been able to pass at least the guy who got TS'd. But anyways, Peach Gardens is picked next. Mixed spots pretty much the whole way through. I end up just pulling shrooms and being able to take cut. Jake just ran in first the whole time, and that's the end of GP1. We win it by about 40 points. GP2 starts off with our 1-3 track pick again. We do get the maple pick. I get a draft, but it's a little bit late, so I fly out into the air on the turn, and I'm unable to actually pass top 2 or even just second. End up pulling a mushroom in third. I honestly should have just burnt it there and passed Brody and tried to get something to hit out Casper, but it works out because we do get it in the top 2. Brody just reds them, I'm pretty sure. And at this point, I do go up for a box because I know that they're all behind me. I pull triple greens, which is really good, but I get wheelie bumped, and I don't even hit Jaker, which really sucks. If I just put my wheelie down, I would have been able to have a way better shot at hitting them out, because Jaker is still in second place, and we would have just been top 2. Now that was probably the biggest misplay of my entire match. Was I used a shroom to chain at the set. I ended up missing the chain, and I hit that banana. It cost me a ton of time. I could have just been in second. I flashed ahead of Jaker, and I ended up getting a banana chain, I think. But instead, Jaker takes over into first, and we're a lot of the bottom spots after that, after the blue shell. What we do here is that was our shock. We just dodge Brody. However, at the next set, literally the zipper set at the U-turn, they pulled a blue shell. Brody definitely would have gotten first, but because he was the only top spot up there, he gets blued, and they get top 3. That blue shell was insanely big for them, because they got top 3 of it. It's a huge point swing, and they got it in pretty much one box in fourth. They were 2, 3, 4, and they hit one box in fourth and pull it. If they didn't pull it there, if they pulled it at last set, it wouldn't have done anything because he would have crossed. So that was the huge point swing. We get Sherbet next as our track pick for our bottom spots. As you can see, Thunder and Brody both shroomed up, so they have a nice, decent break in top 2. And I am in fourth. I'm going to try to just roll Casper out. Pull a TC, which is okay as long as I can pass it. But I see it as a red shell, so I know he's about to do something crafty. And I tried to just bounce off the wall because I think he's going to go for me, but he kind of just stops to throw the red first. And I end up getting past the TC, which isn't terrible because at least I slowed him down a bit, and I do get the 8th place box. So I think it should be fine because that is a decent spot. We're still top 2, but I don't remember what happened, but we ended up losing top 2, and they end up all just shrimming up. I'm assuming there must have been blue shells or some type of fails, but yeah, what should have been a good position for us, top 2, hogging 8th place boxes, ended up being our worst race as they did get top 4. Luckily, we get our reset track pick, MC3. I think we'll pick this because we usually never pick this track. But it's always going to be pretty mixed spots unless you get a golden right away at the beginning. Brody is in first. I have Shroom in fourth. However, 2, 3, 4 all take cut here, and they end up bumping Brody out of cut, which really sucks because now they're top 2 when we could have at least been second or something to try to contest them. We do pull a blue shell, and I get a red. I maybe could have just tried to combo the guy that got blued. But I tried to side red Jake instead. It doesn't end up happening. But at least Brody's able to dodge, and he does end up passing Jaker at the end. So even though they got shock, not a terrible race, all things considered. We get 2, 4, 6, 7, pretty even. Koopa Cape is in the next track. I just get a box in third, which is pretty bad. Probably should have just slowed down to get fourth in case you get triple shrooms. But I end up pulling a green. Brody also pulls green, so we can both take Shroomba. Jaker unfortunately pulled Mega right behind us, so he's going to be able to take cuts and get into first and take the waterfall box, which sometimes you can surprise people with quick back fib or something out of cut. Anyways, the spots are still pretty mixed up. I have triple reds. I back 2 of them behind the wall because they are bottom 2, and I end up hitting both of them back there, which is pretty cool. Take Shroomba with the last red, and Thunder, who was in first, gets either red or powder or something, and we were holding blue, so we can easily just throw the blue after he loses first there. I'm holding on to my Mega. It's a pretty good item to have in the front when you're close to people, because if I can dodge, I'm just going to win, and if I need to take cut, I can just win. But I decided to burn it here because I don't want to play games with this TC pass, and I figure I might be able to go down the waterfall fast and maybe hit Jake, but he was too far away and too close to my teammates to where it would be dangerous for me to attempt to hit them. But I pulled triple shrooms, which is an amazing pull here because I can take the last ending cut and I can take the cuts up here. Jake tries to go for the fib in front of Shroomba, and that green really was close. I wasn't expecting it at all, to be honest. It was just lucky that I was in a different line. I ended up calling that POW, but it was too late. Didn't matter though, I survived, still got first. We get 1-3 out of it. But we lose the GP by like 70 points, so now we're down 30 going into the last GP. GP3 starts out on BC3, and I'm stuck in the back again. All of us are back here, as you can see all the SL tags, but cut is open, so we can just comfortably take it, even though they do take Ultra in first and cut in second or whatever. We're still up here contesting them. And I pull POW in 4, which is pretty good, but I just hold on to it. I asked Thunder what he wanted to do with it, but I just decided the best move is probably to hold till cut. I don't even know what I'm really doing here, but I know cut's open. Thunder said he's going for Ultra, so I'm like, fuck it. I'm just going to try this Shroomless, even though I know I'm about to get bumped to hell. Probably should have just went around, but I mean, everyone was taking cut behind me. So I'm just kind of stuck in the back again. And I wanted to start Casper, but I don't actually get it off because his red rotated around quick enough to hit me again, which did end up costing a spot because I could have probably beat both of them, but I ended up getting 7th instead of what could have been maybe 5th if I used my starter earlier. But we get our DK Summit pick because we did get a good race there. I pull Shrooms at first set. You always want to make sure you get a box at first set, even if you got to slow down a little bit to get it. But I get kind of a dog shit bounce and it's kind of a dog shit cut as well. And I know this guy's triple greens next to me, so I gotta play it safe, just go for single. But I do have 2 Shrooms, so even though I go for single, I'm not gonna lose that much time. And I'm still in second. Thunder unfortunately failed. We're top 2, and then Brody just fails on last turn. He hits the Shy Guy, which really sucks because what happens is they pull Shock here. And I feel like we didn't really know if they had it, but I feel like I'm be the type of player to slow down anyways, and Brody just kind of went. Not to say that's his fault, but we just didn't even know that they had it, and I don't know. Subconsciously I feel like I would have just slowed down regardless, even if we said like, though they probably don't have it, but they end up getting top 3 off of that shock, which is pretty broken. And they get their BCW track pick. So now we're down a lot, and it's going to be really tough to come back here. I pull Shrooms. Unfortunately, he goes wide because the fib tight's coming. I probably could have just shroomed wider and passed him, but I do at least shroom up into third and get an item box. I get a bomb, which is pretty good, but bomb snipe was terrible. I do not connect onto Casper. And I get another bomb, which could be decent, but it just goes nowhere. Don't really know what I was trying to do with that. So they're still top 3, and cut isn't blocked. So we can maybe catch up if one of us takes it, but we end up just billing up, and I get a random green snipe off. So we're at least able to interrupt their spots a little bit. They haven't broken away too much. All we really need to do is just get a blue shell, POW, maybe unblock cut. Obviously shock would be good too, but they're still top 2. Thunder gets hit, and now it's looking a little bit worse because they have much more of a break, so they can start back spamming and shit. But we throw a blue shell, and it actually ends up bluing Jaker off. He missed times getting blued onto the boost pad, and I just have to survive in second for the rest of the race, which I do until I hit this fib on the bottom of the stairs, and now they are just top 3 again. But we do have Shock. Thunder goes into a star. We wanted to TS them, however. We think they might have picked up a ground star in first, and they're also in a mega next to us. We'll end up triple dodging 2 stars in a bill, which is pretty good. And if we can maybe take a glitch or just pass them normally, we should be chilling. And I may glitch. We do end up passing them just going around. Thunder and Sam are top 2. However, they get a blue, and the blue lags, and it ends up hitting both of them. And yeah, we could have probably gotten 1-3-4 there or something, or at least 1-3, but we end up only getting 2-3 out of it. 2-3-5-7. And even though there was obviously some type of miscommunication in top 2, didn't really matter that much looking back because we only would have gotten 1-3, and we kind of needed 2 huge races at the end here in order to catch up. So we're down more than what a top 4 would need, I'm pretty sure. And we just go for the Wario's Gold Mine Troll Pen Cheese. However, we don't get it, and KG ends up winning that match 10-2. So an unfortunate loss. We would have liked those points, obviously. However, it's not the worst team to lose to. Obviously, KG, this is their first win, so congrats to them. But they're pretty much out of playoff picture. So they're not one of the teams that we're super worried about losing to. They're not our direct opponents. Even though we are losing the match and not getting a lot of points, we're at least not losing to our direct competition. Now, as far as my performance that match, I honestly want to say that that was probably the best I've played in any of the matches so far. I definitely made some plays. I felt like I was playing well around my teammates and doing what I was supposed to do. There was really only that one fail on Maple where I chained, and if I got into first, I would have been a lot of good frontal presence after Brody got blued, because after that we were like bottom 4. Luckily we pulled Shock and we got bailed out, but they ended up pulling a blue and getting top 3 out of it. Whereas if I was up there with them, I could have interrupted that top 3. We might have been, top 2 after Brody dodged. I can still get first even if they pull the blue. It would have just been in a much more favorable position considering I didn't even dodge. I'm shocked after set. I'm literally doing nothing in the back. Whereas I could have been at least up there, maybe hitting them, maybe getting a top spot for us. And then on Sherbet Land, which was their other huge race back to back, I should have passed the TC to Casper, I guess. However, even in that situation, just slowing down the guy closest to our top 2, like for that much, it seemed to be a good play. Even if I did end up getting the TC, like I said, I was before the boxes, so I can just get the 8th, which is decent. And we're just going to break away in top 2. But like I said, I don't know what happened to us up there. There must have been something that went wrong, which really sucks, but I don't think me passing off the TC would have contributed that much into breaking up that top 4, to be honest. Yeah, looking back, I really don't think I made that many bad misplays, and I honestly made a lot of good plays. That snipe on RBC, I clutched up glitch on BC Wii, was in the front a lot more often than normal. I was getting good items for sure, like on Koopa Cape, Mega into Triple Shrooms or whatever, but I was able to keep my top spot, which not a lot of times, but sometimes doesn't happen. I'm not usually the guy up there. Now, I don't think we played bad. I think that they got kind of bailed out on Maple and on Sherby, I would have to assume. Like I said, they definitely got bailed out on Maple with the 1-box blue. But that wouldn't have saved our war if they got top 4 right after. But that was a huge race for them, and obviously right after that, getting top 4, that was a huge momentum shift. I think they just played well. We also played decently well, but they just got the better out of us. KG, even though they were undefeated, I would still have rated them higher than a lot of these other teams, to be honest. Not a lot, but I would still rate them to be threatening, and obviously they did show up. So, not the worst loss, but still kind of sucks. However, the next match we play is going to be a lot more important, SL versus SE. Now, this was a match that I was out of town for, so the lineup we ended up using was Brody, Thunder, Sam, and Zap running, and then Will bagging. I didn't even mention this in the KG match, but Will was bagging versus Helia. Like I said before, not our main bagger. Burke is our main bagger. Will isn't even a bagger. We're literally just throwing lineups out there because we want to play the game, and we're trying to follow the schedule and just get our matches out of the way like we're supposed to. So this lineup is like a third string lineup. No Macy, no me, no Burke. And we still ended up going toe-to-toe with SE. It came down to the very last race, but they took it home. 8-4, we ended up winning 2 GPs. So it's a huge loss for us, huge win for them. We really needed points against our direct competition, which SE is our direct comp. So it's going to be a lot tougher for us to beat them in the playoff run now because they had this win over us. Kind of sucks looking back. If we were able to throw Macy in there over Zap or get Burke bagging or something, we probably just win this one 10-2 or maybe even 12-0, which would have helped out a lot. But I can't really talk much else about the match other than we kind of choked at the end because we were up the whole time, and then they started cutting down the lead, and then they came back and won it on the last race. We were up like 5 points or something. So now the road to the playoffs gotten a lot harder. We just took 2 back-to-back L's. And we really need to probably beat IF and then hope that either SE or Heaven starts losing a lot of their matches in order to make it. We still do have a line to make it, but it is a lot tougher for us now. We're not exactly in full control of our path to the playoffs. Fortunately, this week, the biggest loser is definitely us. Losing to KG, which is a team that we beat before, even though we kind of cheesed that win out, can't lie. But that's a team that was 0-6 and we lost. And then choking on the last couple races to the SE War, which is extremely important to us. That is a huge loss. So we are definitely the biggest losers. I don't think there's any clear winners this week. Heaven getting brought down to the rest of us, even more so. They're not the powerhouse that I thought they were going to be. XI is still undefeated, 6-0, 64 points. They're most likely going to be the #1 seed, to no one's surprise. KG picking up their first win. I guess that's pretty important that they're not going to go a complete donut season. Daisy, however, is still on that pace to go winless. And aside from Heaven dropping down a little bit to the rest of the pack in terms of competing, not much has changed this week. It's a little bit more of the same. We got our 2 front runners, XI and 2S, and then couple of teams competing, and there are 2 teams in the back. So next week's matches are really going to set in stone who makes it through. The teams that end up losing are going to have super desperate kind of requirements in order to make it. They're going to need their competition to go 0-12 in their last match or 2, and they need certain teams to win, certain teams to lose, stuff like that. It's going to be completely out of their control. And the teams that win are most likely just going to cruise on in. So look forward to that. Hopefully I get the next video out much quicker this time. Apologize for the delay. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys next time. Peace.